In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make a pen. You're not going to believe how easy and inexpensive it can be. So let's get started. So what I have here is a pen that I turned earlier today. Now what I will tell you is this. Turning pens on a lathe is probably about the easiest project that you can take on when you're learning how to turn. Now, you've got a lot of choices for pen blanks, and that's what these are. They can be very colorful, or you can get something kind of plain and understated like wooden blanks. Now what we're going to do is we're going to slide this aside. This is what you're going to need to turn a pen. You're going to need a blank. Now what I've done is I've taken a blank and I've cut it in half because we're going to need an upper and we're going to need a lower body to our pen. Now the next thing I've done is, well, I've drilled a center in both of my pen blanks, and what that's going to allow to happen is, well, we need room for the ink cartridge and for the twist mechanism that's going to be installed in the center of these two pen blanks. So I'm going to slide this aside. Now we're going to take a look at, well, the pen assembly. So this is our pen assembly here, and I'm sure that some things already look familiar to you. What you want to do is you want to take your metal tube and you want to insert it into the body of your pen blank. Now before you do that, we have to scratch up the outside a little bit because we're going to glue these tubes in place with CA glue. And if we can scratch up the exterior of our tube a little bit with 220 sandpaper, what it's going to do is it's going to give that CA glue something to grab hold of. So let's just scratch the exterior a little bit. There we go. And that's what you want it to look like, just like that. Now, make certain that when you cut your pen blank, you want to cut it to the length of your tube, all right? But you want it to be about 1/8 of an inch longer. We're going to apply our CA glue to our tube, and we're going to insert it. Once you start to insert the brass tube into the blank, you want to twist it. Okay, so the glue gets incorporated on the outside of the tube, all right, and you get a good bond, but the one thing you can't do is you can't pull it out and reinsert it, because what will happen is you'll wind up with glue inside the tube, and that you don't want. There's my CA glue on my tube. I've kept it away from the end, and as I insert it, I'll just make certain that I twist it. There we go. Okay, so I've got my brass tube inserted and it's flush with the outside of the wood, but if I flip it over, what you're going to notice here is that's not the case here. You want to have a perfectly flat, smooth surface, and you'll accomplish that by using a pen mill. Now you want to make certain that you don't go too far. You just want to see the brass tube coming flush with the wood. You don't want to bite into the brass tube. And that's what you want it to look like, and we're going to repeat the process on the other blank. What this is a mandrel, and we're going to take our pen blanks, we're going to load it up here on this mandrel. We're going to load it here, and then we're going to be able to spin it and cut it. Now what I want to tell you is this. The grain on this wood is pretty straight, all right? But sometimes you have a pen blank and the pattern is very busy, and you have to be aware of your wood grain, because if you mix it up, it won't flow. You know, when you put the pen together, it's not going to look like a continuous grain. It's not going to flow and be smooth. So just be aware of that if you're using a wood with a busy pattern. Okay, so let's load up our blank onto our mandrel. Now I have 3 bushings here. That's what these are. And I'm going to take my first bushing and I'm going to load it up. All right? Now I'm going to take the lower body of my pen and I'm going to install it. And I'm going to take my second bushing. Now, you're probably wondering, what are the bushings for? Well, here's the thing. The bushings act as a guide. These bushings tell you how much stock you need to remove from your pin blanks. Okay, this is our lathe here, and we've got our mandrel. It's got a tapered edge at the end, and we're going to just insert that into our headstock. That's what this is. Now, if you want to learn how to use a lathe, I made a video that shows you everything you need to know about getting started on a lathe. I'll place a link to that video below. So I've got my mandrel in my headstock. I'm going to bring up my tailstock. There we go. There we go. Okay, so we're getting close. We've got it close to the shape that we want. Just have to take a little bit more off of this one, and then we'll start the sanding process. Now that I have the shape that I want, I'm going to take a piece of 220 sandpaper and I'm going to sand it down. I'm going to work my way through the grits. Next I'll do 400, I'll do 600, and I'll end with 1,000. That's pretty. I like the way that looks. Next, we're going to finish it off with a little beeswax. It's going to put a natural finish on. We'll buff it up and it'll look great. Now, it doesn't take a lot of wax, and I'm going to buff it out, not with a cloth, not with, a paper towel, but just a piece of paper. Oh, that's nice. That's nice, folks. Now that I have my pin body turned and buffed up really nice, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it off the mandrel here. Now it's time for us to put our pin together. We've got, of course, the body of the pin and the pin assembly. And the way we do this is we press these parts together. So we've got our clip and our cap, and we're going to insert it on top. Okay, so we've got our cap and we've got our clip here. Now we have to press the components into the body of our pin. And again, we're going to press the components into the pin using this drill press vise. And I'm protecting the pin body with a piece of wood and, of course, 2 pieces of rubber. I'm going to slowly crank my vise closed, and that's going to press the components into place. Now this is the pin tip. It's time to install it into the body, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to press it into place. There we go. It's pressed into place. Now I'm just going to remove it. Now that we have our tip installed, it's time to install the twist mechanism. That's what this is right here. Now the twist mechanism allows the ink cartridge to extend and retract. And we have to press this into place just like we pressed the tip into place. Now that the twist mechanism is installed into the body of the pin, it's time for us to install this. This is our ink cartridge. And this is just threaded right into that twist mechanism. And what it's going to do is it's going to allow us to extend it like so. There we go. And retract. Okay, so we know that our twist mechanism is working properly. Now all we have to do is install the upper body of our pen. This is our center ring. We're going to slide this down our twist mechanism like so. There we go. So now that it's in place, now we're going to press the upper body and the lower body together. I just gently do it by hand myself. Now we just have to test it again. It looks good. So there we go. This is Leah saying, you can do this. See you next time.